The champ is here.
We will definitely not shut up and dribble.
The champ is here. I must be the greatest. The champ is here.
I'm going to continue to stand with the people.
The champ is here.
I will not lose.
I'm a bad man. I shook up the world.
Yes, let's go, let's go. Hey, welcome. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with we. My name is EJ, and I got my man.
MH.
He's the lockdown DB of the show. He makes sure we keep covered back here. We are Black in Sports, man. We're here giving a voice to the culture. You know, we will not shut up and dribble. We're here to interview the best professionals in the game and in the boardroom, covering it all, laughing at it all, and providing a platform to be heard. All right. Without further ado, in celebration of Black history, okay, we got some Black excellence in the building, all right? MH loves when we have another DB, so we're going to be playing all cover 2 tonight. I'll be your linebacker if we got to slip into cover 3, all right, man. Played with the Colts, played with the Ravens, all right? Ladies, you can give him a kiss because he's Irish, all right? Graduate from the Notre Dame University. And is graduate of Harvard University.
Yep.
All right, let's give it up for that. Award-winning entrepreneur, father, and Las Vegas local, Gerome. I said Gerome in the house. I said Gerome in the house.
Watch your mouth.
Yeah, give it up. We got Gerome Sapp in the house. Clap
Hey,
it
it's
up.
good
Clap
to
it
be
up.
here, man. It's good
Absolutely.
to be here.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Hey, man, well, we got a lot to talk about with you, brother.
Yep.
We may have to do like a 3-part series with this
sure,
one right here.
for
But we're going to start off, man, with how we always started off is give us a shoot your shot moment, man. The time you went for it all, you know, could have been with the ladies, could have been a job, it could be on the field, man. I mean, you played against some rough competition, but just anytime, shoot your shot moment. Go.
Oh, man, it's a lot of them. Obviously playing DB, shoot, growing up in Texas, too. All we did was shoot our shot with women. So
There you go.
I'll keep it simple. It was actually against the Colts one time. I was playing against the Colts, and I was actually with the Ravens.
All right.
And it was one of the moments. It was late in the game, and I didn't hear the coverage. You know how that goes sometimes.
Yep.
And, you know, sometimes it's like, man, just get back. If you don't hear the coverage, just get back.
Yep.
But, you know, for some reason, I was like, I'm a blitz. You know? that was just my mentality. I'm just going to blitz. I'm just going to shoot my shot, man. I made the play, though.
Oh, there you go.
I made the play.
Yep.
There you go.
Hey, it was one of them things where the coach couldn't be all the way
mad,
mad.
yeah.
Oh, right.
He
Yeah.
was mad, but he wasn't all the way mad. You know, it was so. Hey, shoot your shot though.
That is a great
You
shoot
know?
your
That
shot
is,
moment.
man.
dog. That's
So what
good stuff.
was the film breakdown like?
You know, it was. You know, Sapp. You know, normally we don't really condone this, but in this situation. You were going full speed, and
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and we always congratulate people going full speed, but
Yeah.
you know, you were supposed to be back in cover 3. You know, like I
We
was
need
like,
you in the
Coach,
middle of the field.
yeah.
He's right.
I was like, Coach, I don't know what came over me. I
It's the spirit, baby.
the spirit came over me, and I had to shoot my shot.
Oh, I
you know?
love it. That's a good
Yeah,
one. That's a
That
good
is.
one, man.
That's
So-
big time.
All right, man. So definitely, what was your love with sports, man? Let's just talk a little bit about your background, man. What was your first memory of sports, and then just kind of walk through it.
You know, I mean, and I know we all at this table can understand this, and even you know, I would imagine most of our listeners, when you find something that you're just so natural at, and you don't have to think about it,
Okay.
and you know, in a world where you know, growing up, well, for me, growing up in the South in the hood, you know, there were so many things that were challenging, you know, from a day-to-day basis. You know, growing up with our father in the house, there were so many challenges. So finding sports and finding football is something that came, you know, God gave it to me, and it was so natural to me. And that's when I just fell in love with it. You know, it was almost like it was supposed to be. You know, people talk about, you know, they knew that they were supposed to do this in life, or they knew they were supposed to do this. At an early age, I knew I was going to be a football player. Not that I didn't think I can do anything else,
Right.
because my mother always instilled in me that you can do anything you put your mind to. And, you know, academically, she wanted me to, you know, be excellent and strive for excellence, which, you know, she made sure that I did. But, you know, falling in love with sports because it felt like the thing you felt, you know, it felt natural.
Natural. Got
When
you.
two people
Yeah.
fall in love with each other, it's so easy and effortless. And that's what sports was to me at a young age.
So, shout out to moms, right?
Yeah.
Yo, moms, man, they be putting that wisdom together.
Yep.
They adore a lot, right?
Yep.
So was it always football, or did
Yeah.
you play some other sports?
You know, it was always football. I ran track too.
Okay. All right, that's a question, Miles, right?
Yeah.
What leg? What was the race?
What was the event?
Yeah, so I was a quarter horse. Ran the 4x4.
Oh boy,
Boy.
look at it. Flashbacks.
Yeah.
I ran
what leg? What leg?
I was the second leg.
Oh,
Quarter horses.
my
Yep.
G. My G.
Yep. Yep.
My G, man.
So I ran the 1, the 2, and the 400 and the 4x4. But our coach was old school, so he didn't really let us run our individual races. I mean, I was a 10, 6, 100 guy.
Okay.
But in Texas, wouldn't even.
That's what. Yeah.
That's what you needed to,
Yeah.
to be even.
I wouldn't even
That's
made it out of regions.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have made it out of regionals running a 10-6.
Yeah. You
in
just on the
Texas.
team.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it was ridiculous.
Go over there and start throwing shot put.
Yeah, y'all over there chilling.
But in the 400, I was a 45 split guy. You know, I mean, that's all we practiced, 45 split. But the crazy thing is, which helped us a lot, the U.S. men's 4x4 team practiced with
Which
us
y'all? Oh,
at
wow.
Rice, because we practiced at Rice University. My
Okay.
schools, and we didn't have a track at our school, so we practiced at the college.
Yep.
So our coach would make us hop in with the U.S. men's 4x4 team.
Yeah, you're gonna learn
And
today.
yeah, you're gonna learn today.
You're gonna learn today.
And not only did he make us hop in, but like
Okay.
I said, he was old school. He said, "I know you're gonna get beat, but they better not beat you by that much." And he was serious
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So he was like, "Listen, I know they're gonna beat you, but you better hang with them at least as long as you can."
Wow,
You know, so practice was hard. I mean, obviously that wasn't every day,
that's an understatement. Practice
but
is hard, right?
when we got to the meets, it was easy. So we were state champs, you know, in track. And you know, the only reason I didn't run in college was because I wanted to gain weight for football.
Yeah.
And to keep running those times, I would have had to stay at the same weight. So,
Right.
yeah,
45 split.
Yep.
You heard it.
Yep.
I'm telling you, there's a whole. So my family's from Texas,
Okay.
but I grew up in Colorado.
Yep.
Right. So there's a whole JV level to what we thought we was doing in Colorado compared to what's going on in Texas,
Yep.
man. I know. I had a brother that moved with us in Colorado,
Okay.
older brother, when I was in high school, and he was always listening to Screw.
Screw. Yeah.
So, bro, you couldn't nobody tell me I went from Houston.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
From about 10th grade on, man. From about 10th grade on, I was all, switch the house,
Yeah.
chopped and screw. Everything
Yeah.
was chopped and screw. I was listening to songs like, what? This don't sound right, not chopped and screw.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. So just tell me a little bit about growing in Houston, man. I know it's got its own kind of flavor to it, man. So,
Oh man, it's a whole cultural vibe down there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I grew up in 5th Ward of Houston, so you know it was a hood. I grew up on Coke Street too, so I mean, it was what it was. I mean, the thing that I remember was it was always competition, but that was normal. So you grew up learning to compete, and not only compete, but if you weren't competing against the best person, you were like, well, where's the best team at, or where's the
Yeah.
best dude at? Don't
Yeah.
give me the dude who ain't the best,
Right.
because you were used to the best dude. You
Right.
know, the best dude will come to your block. You know, the best group will come over to your block. You know, the best, schools will want to play against the best schools. And, I just remember, growing up in that competitive environment, and I had an older brother too, who's 13 months older, and we competed against each other, but in a good way though. I mean, it was never like a negative competition. So, Houston has its own style. I mean, its own swag. I mean,
Yeah.
everything we did was different. And, to the point you made earlier, we race in these big track meets against schools from California and Louisiana
Yeah.
and Florida. And we'd always hold our own. And, we developed respect for all these people. And that's partly too how we met a lot of guys, football players that we end up playing with or against later.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean, it was just competitive. That's the biggest thing I remember was it was competitive, but we didn't run from it though. I mean, we loved it. We loved to. We loved to compete. Like it was, when I go to talk to kids today, I try to tell them like the biggest thing that you can develop as a kid is the passion for competition.
right.
Yeah. I mean, you may not win all the time, but if you learn to love to compete,
Yeah.
you'll be fine in whatever you do in life, And so the biggest thing about Texas, as I can remember, was competing. Like it was always putting you up against the best, you know. As I mentioned, running the 10-600, I mean, in my district, I think I finished 4th in district, like, let alone like the region. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But that's just what it was, you know. And you know, the guys who won, that was another thing. You know, we competed as hard as we could, but we used to actually work out with each other in the off season. It was that competitive because we all wanted the best from this school would meet up with the best from this school, and we went after it, you know. And it was all love. That's why even to this day we still boys when we go back home, you know.
Man, that's so refreshing in a day and age of build your confidence.
Yep.
Competition is not stressed amongst
It's not
amongst our youth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's just real refreshing to hear. Notre Dame.
Yep.
Yes.
Hey, how did that recruiting process? I know you're All-American.
Sure.
How did that recruiting process work?
Yep.
What stuck out about Notre Dame?
Well, to get to Notre Dame, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
Take us there.
Houston had 60 high schools.
What high school were you at?
I was at Lamar High School.
Okay.
So a lot of the talent cannibalized itself.
Okay.
Obviously, you know,
Oh, y'all beating up on each
we
other.
beating up each other. That's
Absolutely.
why you always hear the KDs, the Odessa Permians. Well, they got 7,000 kids in West Texas.
Mhm.
That's who wins the championship because the inner city schools we just beat each other. You know. So the crazy thing is, however, that's where the hotbed of talent is. I think there was a poll, the percentage-wise, Houston has the highest percentage of NFL players in the NFL. Houston, just hotbed of Houston.
Oh, wow.
Really?
So the scouts were always coming in. And I was fortunate enough to start on varsity as a sophomore at safety. Never played safety in my life.
All right.
I was a running back. And my brother's a year older than me, got moved. He was a junior, I was a sophomore, and ended up, I remember scouts coming to watch other guys.
Yeah.
And saw me playing. So by the time I was a junior, I was an All-American. The time I was a senior, I was a, top, I think I was the number 4 player rated in the country.
Nice.
And Mr. Texas. So when it got to the recruiting side of it, I just remember like it was overwhelming to a degree because I didn't realize that's what it was. Like when you see the movie Blue Chips or The Program or
He Got Game.
That's exactly what it was like, having these coaches parked outside your house
coming after you.
Literally appointment after appointment, the first day of recruiting, they're all parked out. Bobby Bowden, the next big, at the time, Joe Paterno right behind him, waiting, so it was crazy. But, having a strong black mother, she put parameters around.
Speak on that, man.
Everything.
Speak on that.
You couldn't just, I remember, I'm not going to say the coach's name, but the funny thing is I ended up playing for him later on in the NFL. He came in and put his foot up on my mom's coffee table. And my mom told him to leave.
You got to go, bro.
Yeah,
that's disrespectful.
That's
and she was like,
you're not paying no bills.
Nah.
yeah, if you're not going to respect my house, you're not going to respect my son when he's away from me. That's what she told him.
Yeah.
Which is funny. Him and I always got a laugh out of it later on in the NFL because he was like, your mom was right. I was basically out of pocket.
He was definitely out of pocket.
So choosing Notre Dame, it really came down to, a mixture of academics, athletics, and tradition. I didn't think you could find that mixture with any university. That's just me personally.
Who else was in the mix?
USC, Miami, Michigan.
Oh.
Damn.
I mean, everyone recruited me, but I think
Notre Dame was it.
Notre Dame was it. University of Texas too.
Damn.
And it was.
UT.
But crazy thing is,
Get it together, right?
my best friend
Out
went
your
to
backyard.
UT. So Rob Babers, he was safe. I was say he was a cornerback.
Okay.
Actually, we had 9 D1 scholarships my senior year. That's what kind of talent. That's kind of competition
From
Yeah,
your
that's
from
high
my
real.
high school.
That's really
D1 scholarship.
D1 scholarships. And 2 of us went to the NFL too. So.
Bro, my dad's somewhere smiling right now because he always told me about Texas high school football, man. So he like,
Yep.
I told you.
I done told you about
Yeah,
that.
So Vince Young was in my conference. So we played against Vince.
Okay.
Oh,
I mean, we played. I mean, it's 40,000 people. Shut the stadium down on a high school game.
Yeah.
That's not even a playoff game.
Right. That's That's a regular Friday.
It's a regular Friday, you know. So basically, that's what it was, man. Like I wanted a challenge. It would have been easy to stay at Texas. It would have been easy. This is just for me. Like I don't ever look down on anyone's decision.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, I actually applaud people for going to SC and all these other schools.
Right.
But SC, man, like it was Hollywood. Like, and I knew if I went to Hollywood, I know me. Like,
yeah.
So,
You want to stay away from the mission scandals?
yeah, man.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
Indiana a little different.
Right.
Indiana's a little different. You know, it was 3 feet of snow on the ground.
Yeah.
And, I mean, so anyway, but that's where I felt like I needed to be.
All right.
And, you know, it took me about 2.5 years to really understand the decision I made to go to Notre Dame, because the first 2.5 years I hated it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Coming from a place like Houston,
All right.
you know.
So speak on that culturally. Like break that down.
So
'Cause that's real.
you know, that is real. But you know, the crazy thing culturally, because the high school I went to, it was a good mixture of kids at the high school. And
Okay.
you know, I grew up where, you know, you accept people as they are. To,
Right.
you know, like, you know, my mom was like, I don't care what color they are. If they respect you, you respect them. You know,
Right.
and so I grew up. You know, I don't care what you are. You know,
Absolutely.
if we cool, let's be cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you know, then I was cool with everyone in high school for the most part, you know. So going to Notre Dame culturally, it's only 2% African American, which didn't bother me, you know, because you know I'm here to graduate and play football, you know.
True.
But the crazy thing is, there were so many culturally they had to adjust to me though, because most of them come from private schools where they never interacted with an African American or minority for that matter.
Yeah.
And I was, or someone like me was the first person they had to interact with. And I'm not saying it was all bad,
All right.
but there, you know, there were some bad times, you know, or bad interactions.
Right.
But for the most part, they were looking to me to kind of break the ice, and you know, I'm like, man, what's up, man?
Right.
You know, like why you looking like that? You know, one funny thing is I remember my roommate I would come in the room, and he's a white guy from Detroit.
Okay.
Him and I are best friends to this day. He was a hockey player.
Okay.
And he's looking at my shampoo, reading the back of it. Like,
What is this? Juices
Yeah,
and
what is
berries?
this? I was like, man, your hair ain't gonna look like mine, man. You can use it, man. Like, we still get a laugh out of that. He was like reading like the directions and like,
Wow.
but anyway,
That's fine.
it wasn't that part of it, because you know, I mean, it was enough of us, and
100%.
like I said, I was cool with everybody at Notre Dame too. You know, like it was just South Bend, Indiana. It's the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Slow.
Very slow.
There wasn't a lot to do off campus, and it was cold. I mean, shoot, you didn't see girls are wrapped up 9 months out of the year. You know, I mean, it was different. It was a different vibe, you know. And two, on top of all that, and the thing I think that I can appreciate even now is it was hard too. I mean, Notre Dame was a hard place to go to because they didn't care. I mean,
You mean academically?
academically,
100%.
athletically, 5 a.m. workouts, you know. Then you got to go to, you know, they monitor what you ate. Then you got to go to film study. You got to go to class. They actually paid students to spy on you in the class, you know, and you didn't know which student it was, because if you know, so they made sure you went to class.
Yeah.
And they held you accountable. They didn't care that you were a football player. If you didn't go to class, you were in trouble. You were going to be suspended. If you didn't do this, they didn't care. You're going to be suspended. If you didn't maintain this GPA, they didn't care. You're going to be suspended. And what that forced you to do is really grow up quick and realize, man, I'm an athlete, but I'm not bigger than the rules.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not bigger than the law. I'm not bigger than anyone else on campus. Also, they didn't have athletic dorms, so we stayed
With everybody.
with everybody.
General Pop.
And we didn't have at the time a training table. So
Didn't
we,
have a training
Don't have
table.
so we ate
table.
with everyone too, you know. So I mean, of course, now they do,
Right.
but it forced you to look beyond and
Yeah.
kind of get out your comfort zone and make friends with people you normally wouldn't interact with.
Right.
And what that did was now some of those are your best friends. And
Right.
I mean, now, you know, I got friends that are running companies now just because I was next door neighbor to them, you know, and it was like your dorm at Notre Dame, they didn't have a Greek system at Notre Dame. your dorm was your Greek system.
Okay.
Literally, those are your Greek
Right,
brothers, basically. You know,
Okay.
so it forced you to kind of open up and say, hey, man, like, where are you from?
Yeah.
Like, how do you do it? Where you from? You know.
Yeah.
Or what's this you listening to? Let me check it out. Or here's what we listen to back home type thing, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was all good.
That's good stuff. So you learned a lot, man. It was just an amazing experience for you. Like
It was an amazing
one
experience.
of the best decisions you made so far.
It was,
College.
and it took you, like I said, it took me, and it took most people 2.5 years to understand that Notre Dame was bigger than you. It was there before you got there, and it will be there when you leave.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do when you get here to make your mark?
Wow. So it spit a couple people out then, huh?
I spit a lot of people out, man. It was tough, but hey, it made you better for it though.
Nice.
And talk about, I lived in Indiana for 3 years,
Okay.
and I had the pleasure, one of my best friends, him and his wife was huge Notre Dame fans.
Mhm.
So I got to go to a SC game just a couple years ago.
Yep.
And that was my first time seeing that atmosphere.
Sure.
Obviously, I toured the whole campus
Sure.
and, walked in the stadium and just felt like history. So,
Yep.
I mean, I can only imagine what that's feeling like, slapping the,
Yep.
play like a champion today,
Yep.
entering to the stadium. So tell me about that feeling, just walking on
Sure, man.
to the field.
It was big, it was heavy. And like I said, you didn't really grasp it when you first got there
Okay.
because you're still trying to figure it out. You
Right.
know, what's my place here? Like, am I going to even pass to, or does this coach? Am I ever going to play? But once you understand the magnitude of Notre Dame and the lore of it, the tradition and the global respect, and the thing is, when I say respect, I say respect because Notre Dame in a lot of ways does things right. And I'm not saying other programs don't, because I know other programs do.
Right.
But the accountability that they expect and demand of the players and students and student athletes, like if you knew what they demanded of us, you would have a respect too, you know?
for sure.
So I knew all of that, man, like, as you mentioned it, the tradition, the history, and it was a tangible history, because the old stadium is still there.
Yeah.
Right.
They just built around it.
Yeah.
So you literally can see the original Notre Dame stadium,
That's
and
amazing.
inside the stadium, the locker room is still the original stadium. They just added on to it, you know.
Okay.
They just recently put like the video board
Yep.
there. Yeah.
They recently even updated it more.
Yeah. Okay.
So the whole "Win One for the Gipper" speech plaque is right across from my locker, and I'm, the original showers, like I used to shower, it's not just, man, this place is old. It's like, no, it's old, but it's right here.
Story
Yeah.
too.
So it's one of the things, like I said, once you understood the magnitude of University of Notre Dame and Notre Dame football, you wanted to do as much as you can to be a part of it. So my goal was to be a captain,
Okay.
and which I was.
That's big.
So I was like, man, I want to leave my mark on this university, and the best way I can do this is have my peers vote me as one of the captains, which happened. So to answer your question, man, it was big. It was a big kind of like, like, I'm trying to think of the word. I don't want to say pressure, because pressure wasn't the word.
Yeah.
It was almost like you're appreciative of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, man, I'm lucky. I'm lucky to be at this moment in my life,
Uh-huh.
and be able to experience this and be healthy and be young and all those things that you could throw out. It was almost like, man, I appreciate being here at this time. And obviously you came in as a boy. I mean, you guys understand it.
Yeah.
And you graduate as a man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And everything that went in between.
Those
So,
lessons in between.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Oh,
go ahead.
yeah. Just
I took you
random.
geeked up. Yeah, I love
So
it.
is
Here we
it
go.
weird? Like, I mean, Joe Montana,
Yep.
Jerome Bettis, Gerome Sapp, Tim Brown,
Yep.
and then the fifth person out of everybody's mouth is Rudy. Is that weird?
Man,
Is it weird?
It's not, because here's why it's not. Which is funny, because Rudy lives here.
Yeah, he does live
And
here.
I've actually gone to lunch a few times with Rudy. If you understand the culture of Notre Dame football, walk-ons are a big part of the culture.
Okay.
Like, and it sounds weird, like, but I'm gonna back up a little bit. First of all, speaking of Rudy,
Okay.
I didn't know Notre Dame was an institute of higher education until I saw the movie Rudy when I was like 8 years old, 9
Right.
years old.
Yeah.
I thought Notre Dame was a professional football team because they were always on TV.
NBC, yeah.
They were always
Yeah.
on TV.
Make their own schedule.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So when I saw Rudy for the first time, I was like, oh, I get it now. You know, then I was like, man, this is awesome. Like, so, and a lot of people have that same reaction to Rudy. Like Rudy was a major part of why a lot of people knew of Notre Dame on a deeper level. So, but okay, I'm gonna fast forward. So the culture of Notre Dame football is based around walk-ons. Like, cause a lot of people, this is a stat. I think like 88% of the student population played varsity sports in high school at Notre Dame. But obviously most people aren't good enough to play Notre Dame football.
Right.
So you got all these people. Also Notre Dame has full contact dorm sports. So full contact dorm sports. So your dorm is like your brothers. They have full contact tackle football, full contact hockey. So literally,
do they get to wear a version of the Golden Dome, or they don't get that?
They don't
privilege?
get. But the champions play the championship game in Notre Dame Stadium.
Oh, that's big time though.
So imagine all the dudes your dorm brothers.
Mm-hmm.
You coming back and they banging outside the yard. You know, like, but to the point, most of them were varsity athletes.
Yeah.
So a lot of them, you know, we all know guys who could have played college football, but they chose not to.
Yeah.
But they were definitely good enough to.
Right.
Absolutely.
Same thing in Notre Dame. There was a lot of guys in the dorms who just for whatever reason wanted to hang the cleats up or didn't think they can compete at Notre Dame.
Okay.
So Notre Dame gets most, if not all of their walk-ons from the dorm sports. And
Never heard that either.
a lot of them earn scholarships too.
Okay.
I mean, I think my senior year, 4 walk-ons earned scholarships. All of them came from dorm sports, you know. And I'm not talking about like charity scholarships.
Like
these dudes, they're banging. Like these dudes are like contributors to the team. Like so, the walk-on culture at Notre Dame is huge. So
that's big.
So Rudy fits in perfect with it.
He does.
I mean, that's part of the
whole
culture.
allure.
Yeah.
Nice.
Dang.
So that was college. So kind of take us into, you know, your time with the Colts or just draft. Anything you want to share upon that, but kind of bring us up into the league process.
Sure. So, you know, the biggest thing is just perseverance, you know. I mean, there's a lot of athletes out there. I mean, there's a lot of people in life that face challenges and, you know, there's a long, dark tunnel of uncertainty, you know, and anything you do that you face challenges. And that's kind of what the draft was. I mean, I was All-American.
Yeah.
And one
captain.
Yeah. Yeah.
But freak practice senior year, hurt my knee in a practice, missed the last 2 of the last 3 games, just crazy. So that dropped my status a little bit too. Last game of the season against USC at USC, Justin Tuck, friendly fire, shattered my wrist. You know, friendly fire. Didn't know I shattered it though. Played the rest of the game.
Okay.
Played in the bowl game. Played in the senior bowl game, and I remember hitting someone in the senior bowl game, and my whole side went numb, and I was like, man, something's definitely, because they x-rayed my wrist, and they didn't see a fracture in it. So when I flew back to South Bend, I got it x-rayed again, and they were like, yeah, it's a fracture in it. We couldn't see it because at first it was internal swelling. They're like, you need an operation quick and like immediate, because the bone you broke is the most important bone in your wrist, and it's the smallest bone. And if you don't get it operated on, that bone could die, and then you won't be able to use your hand. And I was like, man, and this is obviously before the draft. And so I got a, bone graft. I got 3 screws in my wrist, and I'm in a cast. Like, I even show up to the combine in a cast. So I'm having all these meetings, and I'm thinking like, man, God, like, why now? Like, I did all, did everything right in my mind. Obviously didn't do everything right, but you always ask why. I was like, why is this happening? And went through all the, ran a 40 in the cast, and and the Ravens didn't even interview me at the combine.
Really?
I mean, I had a lot of interviews. The funniest one was with the Patriots, actually. Okay. With Belichick.
Okay. Oh yeah.
I mean, like,
cat.
I come sit down with a cast on. He's like, oh, your cast. When you gonna get that off? And I was like, oh, any day now. Like lying. Like I still had like another month or 2 with my cast. So he, it was just him. Now every other interview, it's the whole organization around the room, literally.
Yeah.
It's a dark room, so you can't really see their faces.
The reactions and things.
Yeah, exactly. But then there's like a light lamp on in the middle, and you sit down with like an interrogator, literally, a lot of the teams hired former FBI guys.
Oh, wow.
To question you.
Sure.
So because they want to see your reaction to answering questions, getting interrupted, someone raising their voice at you. They want to see how you responded. They want to see your mannerisms.
Yes.
And it was crazy, but the Patriots didn't have a lot of people in the room. It was Belichick, it was Romeo Crennel. And I remember Romeo was at the board, and Belichick was like,
he's the X's and O's guy, huh?
He was like, "Oh, you don't even have to sit down," And
wow.
These meetings are like speed dating.
Yeah.
15 minutes, horn blows. Mm-hmm. Then you go to if you got another appointment, you go to it. So he's like, "No, you don't even have to sit down. Why don't you go to the board?" And Romeo, can you draw out? He said some offensive formation,
right?
And he said, "Mr. Sapp, can you draw cover 4 to it?" I drew cover 4 to it. Then I said, I remember asking him, "Do you want me to draw just a secondary or the
full?"
The full.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. He was like, "Well, can you draw the full?" And I was like, "Well, I'll draw it how we did it." And he's like, "Yeah, why don't you do that?" So I drew it all out.
Uh-huh.
Then Romeo motioned the guy. He said, "What would you do?" I said, "Check here."
Yeah.
Motion guy, check here.
Right.
Okay. Erased it. All right, draw. It was like cover 2, something like this. And he said, "Do you know what that is?" And I said, "I think I know what it is." And he said, "Well, draw out what you think then." Drew it up, did some motions. He said, "Okay, that's all we need to see." Okay. He's like, thanks for your time. And I remember being like, "Can I get a shirt?" Because most teams had shirts you can grab, but he didn't offer it to me. So I asked,
absolutely.
I said,
shoot your shot.
Shoot my shot, So
come up off of that.
I remember walking out thinking, man, well, I'm not going to be a Patriot.
Right.
So, long story short, man, it's funny. I tell kids all the time, it's always a first impression that sticks with people.
Yeah.
So at the Senior Bowl, the Ravens, I was sitting in the lobby. I forget why I was sitting there. The Ravens head of college recruiting, scouting walked by, Phil Savage. It was like, "Gerome, man, I've been looking all over for you." Like, he said, "Man, like your film doesn't match how you play." Like,
okay.
And I knew what he was saying too. He was like, he said, "All of your film doesn't match how you play in person." And I knew, because half my career at Notre Dame, my first half, I was injured. And a lot of times playing injured. It wasn't until my senior year when Coach Willingham got there that I was healthy, and I just had he motivated us in a different way.
Yeah.
And he said, "Man, your senior year is so different than all your other years, and all this film and all this practice I'm seeing you now is even more intense." Like, he said, I want to talk to you about that. So we talked for about an hour, just unplanned. And, like I said, they didn't interview him at the combine, but that's who ended up drafting me, off that conversation,
Nice.
and obviously what they saw. But the crazy thing is, 2 years later, this is how this mysterious things work. The book Patriot Reign came out. They followed the Patriots around.
Right.
And chapter 10 was the chapter about the combine. And Belichick mentioned me in that chapter as one of the smartest guys he's ever interviewed at the combine, And he mentioned that, I just wasn't a fit for the system, basically.
Really?
But I knew all the answers to the questions, and I could even think about things that were NFL level things.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was kind of validation, I remember walking out of that meeting thinking, "Man, like, you dumbass," like, but that was definitely validation, man. And but that lets you show, that goes to show the business of the NFL, the business of sports, the business of life. Yeah. You're not going to be for everybody,
right?
But as long as you're for yourself and you have confidence, that's all that matters, So
touch on that, man. I think obviously to play in the NFL, there's a huge physical element to that. I think there's a bigger mental element to that.
Oh, you're 100% right.
Right. So talk about that mental strength, mental stamina to fight through an injury.
Yep.
To fight through the whole process. How did that work?
So what you just said is the reason why, to make it in the NFL, you have a higher chance of winning the lottery.
Mhm.
to stay in the NFL, win the lottery twice because the mental side of it.
Gotcha.
It's funny. So many rookies, including myself, come in the best shape of their life and, running fast and testing well and all that kind of stuff. But the combine can't test for heart and are you a football player?
Right.
The combine can't test for that.
Right.
They can't test for your mental ability. I mean, you can take the Wonderlic test, but when you got a broken bone or you got, your body's hurting and, you just can't think, you're distracted.
Right.
Can you still think in those things, in those conditions, when there's there's hundreds of thousands of people screaming and you got pressure of your family to make this call, you playing against Tom Brady, they're motioning and moving around and you got to check the defenses and you got Ray Lewis looking back at you, looking for the call. Can you make the call under all that?
Yeah.
The combine can't test for that. So
Right.
the most important thing, and I tell people all the time with kids, obviously train them physically, train them to endure, train them to be resilient, but start training their minds right now to learn to overcome, learn to be uncomfortable, learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's the biggest thing. A lot of veterans, believe it or not, are in terrible shape. A lot of veterans that you think are fast really aren't that fast. They're just smart.
Know the game.
They know the game.
Yeah.
So they're like, listen, Rook, you may be faster than me, but you're going to take 2 false steps. One, and I already know where you're going, so I'm going to get there before you going to get there, and
Hit
you
you
way
with that
faster
pursuit
than me.
angle.
But yeah, I mean, the mental side of it, I mean, especially coming out playing for the Ravens and that defense.
Man, bring me in that practice.
I mean,
there's some gold jackets that you.
It's first of all, the level, the standard I walked into was on a Hall of Fame standard.
Yes.
I mean, literally.
Yes.
I mean, there's
The
gonna be
defense.
some more Hall of Famers off that defense.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
There was Terrell Suggs and I got drafted in the same class.
Okay.
And I remember Suggs being he was the youngest guy in the NFL. He was 19 at the time because he left Arizona State early.
Okay.
And I just remember this young, and we were all young, and, the draft, all the guys who got drafted, they pick us up from the airport and drive us. And I remember them saying, hey, guys, your life has just changed. So act accordingly. And that act accordingly is the key statement in everything you do in life is act accordingly. So stepping into that locker room, you step in there with grown men and they don't care what's bothering you. They don't care that, you're struggling to learn this or you're struggling. No, if you're out there, you better know what you're doing, because I got kids to feed.
Right.
I got a wife. A lot of them had a girlfriend with a wife on the side. I mean,
Facts.
but so to your point, the ability to quickly learn something and not have to be corrected on it more than one time.
Yeah.
And in some cases not corrected on it at all.
Oh, right.
I mean, there were times literally, and I'm not even exaggerating, that there were a group of rookies on the field and the coach said, hey, if you rookies mess up on this, I'm kicking all of you out. And I'm not talking about all off the field. I'm talking about into the locker room and you all going home. Like
turn your playbook in.
Yeah.
And that happened.
Wow.
And I remember my rookie year, my coach saying, listen, Sapp, if you hurt, you're no good to me, man. I'm telling you. If you're hurt or injured, you're no good to me, and I gotta get rid of you. So you gotta make up in your mind if you're gonna be hurt or injured. And if you are, then you're just no good to me.
Wow.
So understand that,
And that's coming from All-American in high school to playing at Notre Dame.
Yep.
Yeah, that's real, man.
That's a reality.
So
that's real.
So basically, the playbook, man. The Ravens. We went in the game with 100 defensive plays, and there's probably 10 audibles that we checked to all that. I mean, Rex Ryan was a defensive genius.
Yeah.
Right.
Not only Rex Ryan, but Ray Lewis, obviously. I mean, he was a coordinator on the field. He would change the defense. Shoot, Ed Reed would change the defense sometimes. I mean, we were so good. We run cover one on one side of the field, zone on another side.
That's ill.
Cornerbacks and safeties got their own thing going just because we know each other so well. I mean, it was such a
Fluid
I mean, you
situation,
had to be everyone had to be on the same page. So every night you had to learn 10 different plays, and not only learn it, but you had to get on the board and you had to front the whole defense. Also, too, man, the whole dynamic of player and coach wasn't the same anymore. And a lot of people are like, well, what do you mean? I was like, no, it's no longer a hierarchy. No, we business partners. I mean, I always had a respect for my coaches.
Right.
But a lot of them dudes, like, I remember vividly, I'm not going to say his name, but he's going to be a future Hall of Famer. Coach was like, this is how we play in the defense. And he was like, no, I'm not playing it like that. And he was like, yes, this is from the whole defense now. So, yes, you are playing it like that. And this particular player said, how many years you played? To the coach, defensive coordinator. No, I'm sorry, to the position coach. And he said, 0. I played 9 years. So we're going to play it how I want to play it. And he's like, and if you don't like that, I'll get you fired.
Wow.
And I'll be here playing it like I want to play it next year too, you know. And he says, so cut the film back on and let's get, you know, just I mean the Ravens were renegades though. I mean, they were players and coaches used to fight sometimes, you know, like I mean, it was a renegade. I mean, it really was. Listen, if you had a problem with another player, I remember Rex Ryan saying, hey, cut the film on. Coach is going to leave the room.
Oh, y'all figure it out.
And y'all better figure out, and there better be some furniture moving in here. Because when we get back, I don't want to hear any more bickering, okay?
Yeah, we got shit to do.
Hey, and wasn't no more problems, too. But I love it. That's the mentality. Like, I mean,
and
Rex
that showed on the field, boy.
Yeah, man. Rex, I remember Rex, too, man. We would fights on the, in practice. He'd be like, no, none of that breaking up stuff. No. The second dude come in and hold the offensive guy, and everyone else tee off on him. And he said, I'm gonna be, hey, stop it. You know, I'm gonna act mad. But, you know, really, I'm not gonna be mad. You know, I'm gonna be mad if you break it up, you know,
right.
Like renegades.
I love that.
I love it.
I love that, man.
But anyway, underneath all that, it was a certain level of accountability, respect for one another, and guys just trusted each other,
right.
You know? And the key thing is the veterans trusted the young guys. Ed Reed, you know, a lot of veterans, you know, because literally a young guy is there to replace you.
Right.
I mean, there's no secret about it. Like, you drafted him to replace me, you know, like, in fact, every Tuesday they bring in people at every position and work them out to see if they found something better. Yeah. So you just learn to only worry about the things you can control.
Do your best.
And you know, so, but Ed Reed was a guy who was like, listen, man, we all here together. We a team. So, I mean, he'd have film study at his house with all the young guys, you know. Dope, he said, my job is to get you better because that gets us better, you know. Ray Lewis the same way, you know, so that's what it was, man.
Shout out to Ray. Ray was just in town, man.
Yeah,
man. That was cool. He came and spoke to our church, man, so that was dope to have him in town. And then speaking of Ed Reed, man, you saw his new position, right?
Yeah, Miami, right?
Yeah, so he's a chief of staff over there, man.
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. I mean, you know, some guys' presence just elevates everything and everyone. I mean, he's one of them. I mean, first of all, he's such a good, genuine guy.
Good dude. Yeah.
He's such a good dude. You know, I mean, I could do a whole show on all the stuff he would do.
Wow.
That he didn't want any media attention for. Yeah. You know, and I'm talking about millions of dollars worth. You know?
Really?
I read some things about Walmart and with the students and stuff. Yeah, man.
Exactly. I mean, one in particular, you know, Walmart pays, you know, hey, like $50 to go back to school shopping spree. You know, he added like $100 on to everybody. But it was like, hey, I don't want any media attention. Just
here it is.
I mean, but he did that all the time. You know, like so him at Miami. I mean, like I said, he's a presence. Him being around will elevate everyone's play, just because he's that special person. You know, I always tell people playing pickup football. You know, when you talk about who's a good athlete, you can reduce it down to pickup football. Who's the first person you're gonna pick? I don't care who's out there.
Okay.
Who's the first person you're gonna pick? You can have any old great football player. Ed Reed's probably gonna be the first one you're gonna pick. Yeah. You know, or Barry Sanders, but Ed Reed's the first person. Not because of his athleticism only. I mean, but he was a freak. I mean, he knew one, he studied film, but he had an innate ability just to get the ball. You know,
When he got that ball, man, he was scoring.
then he knew what to do
He
with
knew
it.
what to do with it.
Yeah.
Not playing.
Now he is
Yeah.
not playing.
Yeah.
And it was fluid
It's
too.
fluid. Yeah.
It was just ridiculous. He's so innate with it.
Yeah, you know, and that's I mean, God touched him, you know. But anyway, so he's gonna bring that specialness to Miami, and you know, the thing is, like, I hope Miami gets back. You know,
I do too.
I mean, college football is good when the powerhouses are all good. You
Right.
know, and I mean, you know, and that's the thing, man. When you play in a locker room with so many amazing guys from amazing schools,
Right.
you develop even a deeper respect for the tradition programs. And also, you develop a respect for the smaller programs too.
Right.
I mean, a lot of guys don't talk about that, man. But
Shout out to my 1AA.
knowing what a lot of those guys had to get
Yeah.
through and didn't have that we had to get to it, and
To get there.
I mean, it's just respect. You know, I mean, you learn to respect just people for who they are. It don't matter where they came from, what school. If you're a football player, you're a football player.
Right.
You know, so
Right.
yeah.
Is my man Ed gonna get a taper now that he at Miami, or he
Man.
going out? He's not gonna do that.
We used to call him the Billy Goat, man. I don't. He growing it out, man. I don't know what he's doing, man. We used to call old Eddie
Oh,
Kane.
Eddie Kane.
Yeah. I don't know what he's doing, man. But Ed's an old soul, though, man.
Naturally.
Yeah.
Now, did you guys play the convicts versus Catholics
yeah.
game?
Catholics versus convicts.
Yeah. Was that? Did you?
No, I wasn't a part of that, but
Because they paused it for a while, and I
they
didn't know if
paused
it was.
Yeah.
They just kind of revisited it a couple of years ago.
so the funny thing about that, man, you know, when we played Florida State,
Oh, okay.
and we went down there and handed it to him, but you know, the crazy thing is we
Humble
all
brag.
come, we
Humble
all
brag.
humble brag. That there was such a big misconception about the Notre Dame and Miami guys. You know, a lot of people look at and I understand it. You know, you look at the Notre Dame guys, oh, like you know, we went to Notre Dame. You know, like,
Yeah.
but a lot of us from the same neighborhoods, like literally, Notre Dame had 28 guys from Texas.
Okay.
I think 24 guys from Florida, South Florida. I mean, we all grew up together. You
Right,
chose, you know. So it's funny talking to a lot of the old heads at Notre Dame that played in those classic games. Same thing. A lot of them grew up in the same neighborhoods. But the crazy thing is, I remember in the documentary, Chris Zor said we were no angels either.
Yes.
And we weren't. You know, the funny thing is, first of all, they're obviously not convicts down there. But a lot of us got in trouble just as much as they got in trouble.
Right.
You know, we just hid away at Notre Dame, you know, under that golden dome.
Hey,
you know?
anybody spent enough time in college, they
Yeah.
got into some kind
Absolutely.
of trouble.
You
You're
know,
out on your own.
yeah,
You know, something happened.
absolutely, man. So we always got a kick out of that, especially because we knew all the guys. You know, we knew all the Miami guys and
Right.
SC guys and all that kind of stuff. You know, and we were all the same dudes. You know, so.
That's cool.
But no, I never participated in the Notre Dame Miami rivalry. Yeah.
All right, man. I want to kind of talk about a couple current things, man. And you know, I'm actually going to jump to this because I think, you know, as the intro, you know, I mentioned you are a father, man, and I love checking out social how you're raising these two young men.
Mm-hmm.
You are raising young men,
Yeah.
and I mean they are doing everything. I see them doing damn UFC,
Yeah, man.
fucking kickboxing, fucking football, baseball.
Yeah.
One's a DJ. He got so much energy,
Yeah,
man.
he do.
He mad personality,
Yeah, he
dude.
does. He
So,
does.
Just kind of tell me about, you know, fatherhood, man, and raising them here in Las Vegas, man.
Sure. So, you know, that's you know, as we all understand, man, I mean, presence, you know, I didn't have a father, so that taught me firsthand, you know, your absence gave me an understanding of what true presence really meant.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's
That's a good
so,
one. That's huge,
deep.
man.
you know, so it was really one of the things, man, like, I didn't want my sons growing up. I didn't want to repeat that, basically.
Mhm.
Right.
You know, if I had kids, I wanted to make sure that I could be there and not only be there, but raise them the way that I always envisioned and dreamed of being raised, you know. And you mentioned that I have them in a lot of different sports. It's really, man, to give them options.
Yeah.
One
Right.
thing that the only thing that I would change from my childhood is just options. And I wouldn't, it's not that, you know, change it like I regret anything, but because we didn't have options. You know,
Right.
you either dribbled out or you had a football. You
That's
know?
it.
But now there's so many other sports and so many other things, especially growing up in Las Vegas,
Right.
you know, with different things. So it's like, man, like, and I'm the type of dad is just like, I don't care what you do. Like, if you don't want to play sports, sports is not for everybody. And in fact, it took me a while. So I have a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old. It took me a while to put all my sports memorabilia out in the house.
Oh, really? Okay.
You know, my 10-year-old, I believe, was 5 when I put it all out
Okay.
for the first time. And my brother had to tell me to put it out. And the reason being was I didn't want him to grow up thinking, one, he had to be an athlete.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
2, he had to be me. You
Right.
know? He had to live
That's dope.
in my shadow or do what I did or do any of that. And, you know, that, and that's tough for kids. You
Yeah.
know? And I didn't want that kind of pressure. But on the flip side of that,
Hell, it's tough for you.
it's tough for me because that can be inspiration for a
Correct.
kid. You know, for me, that's tangible motivation for them to not necessarily be athletes, but to do whatever you dream of doing. I don't care what you dream of doing. You could do it. Like, you know, I was able to do it in the thing that I chose to do, you know, so that should, you know, let you know that whatever you choose to do,
Shoot for
you
it.
can do it, man. You
Awesome.
know, if I can make it where I came from, you can make it, you know. But yeah, I mean, the whole, even the mixed martial arts, to be honest with you, I hope they're not fighters. You know, but the thing is, I know training as a fighter gives them something tangible, or some innate ability to push through certain things that you just wouldn't get anywhere else. I mean,
Right.
even their coach is like, man, like if they develop the instinct of a fighter, I don't care what they do in life, they're gonna be hard to beat.
It
you know?
bleeds out to other
It bleeds
things,
out into
right?
other things. So, you know, my thing as a father is like, man, give these boys options and then give them the tools to prepare and whatever they want. I mean, that's the thing. We didn't have all the tools when we were younger all the time.
Right.
You know, now my biggest thing is I'm gonna give them the tools to be able to prepare to be successful, and that's my main role right now.
That's dope.
Man, that's big. I mean,
Mhm.
I had a discussion actually with my dad recently about the same thing, about parenting in general.
Mm-hmm.
And you touched on it about parenting and giving them the tools,
Mm-hmm.
give them the game plan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think a lot of people, and today I'm not going to criticize anybody, but a lot of people, their kids grow up,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they're not raised a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I'm saying? I think there's a difference between I'm just growing up or I was raised a certain way.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I feel like you got that game plan. Talk to me about that game plan. You know, there's a strategy to parenting. I'm doing this because
sure.
I know why I'm doing this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Talk
absolutely.
to me about that.
So to piggyback on that point you just made, I'm doing this because I know I'm doing this. I want to do this.
It's a plan.
The number one thing I said is I'm gonna be deliberate about being a father.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be very deliberate. You know, there's a lot of, and I'm not knocking anybody.
Right.
I know there's circumstances that make it tough to be a father or mother. Is that are out of your control sometimes. You know, but for me, I said I'm gonna be very deliberate in how I raise my boys. There's certain lines that I won't cross or let anyone else cross with my sons, at least at a certain age, and I can control it.
Right.
And it's not a matter of me sheltering them and not allow, but at a certain point, it's just being deliberate. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to let a bad coach them.
Yeah.
Life is too short. Like, their minds are too valuable to pollute it with stuff that you're going to have to take out.
Yeah.
And that's going to ruin other stuff. I'm not going to, let them fall behind in school. I'm going to be at school sometimes. I'm understand what they're doing and how they can be better at it, if they need that help. So the first thing is just, I knew I wanted to be deliberate in how raising them. The second thing is, as we touched on, is the plan. I mean, learning to prepare. And I don't care if it's in sports, in school, allowing them to understand there's a method to this. Successful people just don't wake up successful.
Right.
This is there.
Like, I mean, there's steps to lead to that. Successful people don't just go in and say, hey, I started this company or I bought this team, or no, there's how do you get there?
Right.
So, with me, it's the, I'm gonna touch on again, it's the mental side of it. One, learning who you are and learning how much your mind can endure more than your body thinks it can endure.
Mm-hmm.
So, case in point of that right now with especially with my older son, is he's in club baseball now.
Okay.
And there's times he doesn't get home till 10 p.m. and he has to do homework. And I'm saying, listen, man, you know, I'm gonna be real with you. Like, I'm gonna give you an option, okay? You can do your homework tonight, or you can wake up early and do your homework. But you got to do your homework,
do it.
Right.
you know, because you chose to play baseball, you know.
Oh, that's dope.
You know, and if you don't want to play baseball, tell me you don't want to play baseball. But as of now, you chose to play baseball, and there's certain requirements and responsibilities that come along with that. So I'm gonna give you an option, okay? So, you know, one, you know, I'm always like, listen, you're in the 1% now. You're learning how to manage time and manage responsibility like no one right now. I mean, there's you're 1% of your peers are able to do that right now.
Absolutely.
Most of your peers come home, watch TV, take a nap, you know, do whatever, and good for them, you know, good for them.
Right.
Then get to their homework, then watch some more TV, and like I said, that's what you want to do that, you know. But what you're learning right now is so valuable. Whether you want to continue in sports or do whatever, you're learning to manage time with responsibilities around it, and you're managing it, you
Right.
know. So it's really just laying out, you know. I mean, you know, keeping them up on reading inspirational things about people. I mean, that's the biggest thing too. Like, not just read, you know. So the school gives them things to read, but I'm always finding more things for them to read that's more fitting to them.
I like that.
To see
I
that,
do.
you know, because I can't always be their hero.
Right.
So, you know, I know athletes, I like to find inspiring stories around them, something they had to endure. And I, you know, say, hey, read this real quick. I think you'll like it, you know. One is, you know, helping the reading.
Right.
But two is it's that whole tangible success thing, you know.
And building that mental capacity.
Exactly.
To
you
know
know,
that you want to motivate themselves.
A
And go out to
blueprint,
get that.
man.
the blueprint.
Yeah,
Blueprint.
man.
You can't build a house without no blueprints.
Exactly.
You can't build it without a foundation either.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Nice.
You know.
Well, I know one thing that kind of rocks someone's foundation. I know I'm usually the one to joke, so I'm gonna, you know, definitely be quickly serious about this. But you know, D Wade recently just kind of came out talking about his son and just adjusting, and you know, that's a whole nother plan, right? And
You know, yeah, that's and I saw that.
yeah, right.
I saw that on the ticker. You know, she transgender wanted now her and she and
Correct.
change her name. Correct.
Change her name.
You know, I tip my hat to the Wades, man.
Oh my
and
gosh,
D Wade.
absolutely.
You know, I mean, you know, as a father, there's a traditional idea of raising a son that I think we all have, at least most of us have.
I mean, just having a son, right?
Having a
It's-
son,
It's
yeah.
like when they're pregnant, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, got to get
Exactly.
that boy, right?
Exactly. And there's all these expectations that you have,
Yes.
you know, and you know, and rightfully or wrongfully so, you have them. They're there. And there's these visions of what you expect from your son, you know, not only now but later on in life. And
Right.
for right or for wrong, those are the visions you expect. So, you know, and the funny thing was when I saw that, I was like, man, what would ever happen if, I mean, how would I take if one of my sons said that, you know?
Right.
And in the end, you know, all you could do is love them, you know. Obviously you're human, and you would have questions, and you'd want to talk it out with them, you know.
Absolutely.
You know, but at the end of the day, like, that's still your flesh and blood, you know, and that's still, you know, you know, 'cause especially a son, that's you know, I mean, more than, you know, a daughter in some cases. So, you know, the only, you know, I obviously haven't experienced it. But all I can say is I tip my hat to the Wades for dealing with it the way they have dealt with it, you know, I mean, and just showing nothing but love, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go fast forward, man, because like we said, man, this has been just hit after hit with you. Talk to us a little bit about, you know, some of the entrepreneurial things that you've done, man, or anything that you want to speak on. I mean,
Sure.
'cause you got a list of them, brother.
So-
I mean, you've done a lot of stuff.
So the biggest thing, man, I got cut one time.
Okay.
And I remember, you know, my wife was at work. It was her first day at the job. And I remember thinking, man, this is her day, her happiness. I would be selfish to ruin it if I called her and told her that I got cut on her first day at the job.
Oh, got you.
And I remember thinking, man, this is the first day I had to be a real husband,
Right.
make a real husband decision, you know, like, so I remember sitting around all day waiting for her to get back.
Okay.
You know, like, sure enough, she got back. And Like, and I'd let her tell me about her day. Then I said, well, I got cut today. I knew how she was gonna respond, so I didn't want to ruin that day for her while
Right.
she was at work. And sure enough, she responded the way I thought she was gonna respond. But the way God works, man. Like Tony Dungy called me 2 hours later and was like, "Hey, we wanted to draft you, but the Ravens got you. So one man's
Yes.
trash is another man's treasure." I
Let's
remember him
go.
tell me that like it was yesterday. So they immediately signed me, put me on a plane, flew me to Indy that night.
That's
Um,
amazing.
So, but during that time, I had to sit at home by myself. I remember thinking, man, I don't ever want the NFL to have the power that they have over me now, this feeling that I have of helplessness. I'd graduated, I got my degree in finance, but it was still like, this feeling, they have this power over me that they can, dangle me around like that. And I remember thinking, man, no, that's never going to happen again. So during that time, I applied for Harvard Business School.
Yep.
During that time, I remember reading all the requirements. I was interested in it before, and I remember submitting the first process of it. And it was a long process, and ended up getting. I got admitted. So I would go to business school in the off season at Harvard, and it took me like 2.5 years. And I said, man, I'm building my own brand, my personal brand. So no matter what the NFL does, it's my decision if I
Yes.
want to leave or stay. If you cut me again, that's fine. That's business. That's the other thing you learn quick. It's business. It's not personal.
Right.
So, but I want to, it's business. I want to have the option to say, well, okay, well, I'm just going to keep going then.
And then you had that, right? So I mean, you
So-
won an award for the first company you did,
Yeah.
right?
So, yep. So a year later, I wrote a business plan and won the Notre Dame business plan competition, and the NASDAQ awarded me. The Navy SEALs were our first customer, and ended up selling that company and
And you had an exit. I mean, that's
Yep.
amazing. To
Yep.
start a company,
start a company.
build a company,
Yep.
and then to have a successful exit.
Yep.
That's awesome. And that company was the
The
clothing line
clothing wear we made
out
out
of recycled.
recycled bottles. Yep.
Yeah.
Which no one was doing at the time, man. Like, and it was exciting to learn new stuff and
That's big.
play with new technology. But they ended up starting a tech company, and I guess the biggest thing, man, it was just when I wasn't competing in football, I needed to compete in something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And business was my new outlet. And
That's
I
amazing.
attack business the same way I attack sports, all in. So started a tech company, and which is interesting. I ended up writing some algorithms, and Tony Shea denied me the
Really?
first time
Okay.
I met with him for the Vegas Tech Fund.
Right.
And I remember saying, man, I remember him saying, listen, Gerome, if you can prove this algorithm works, you've created something amazing. But at the time, it was kind of shaky, and he's like, so we're going to pass. So I remember saying, all right, Tony, you like the product, and you said you like me. And he's like, yeah. I said, well, I'll see you in a year,
Okay.
So literally 365 days later, they invested in me. I ran into them. I was launching my company at South by Southwest in Austin, and I ran into Tony Shea in the middle of 6th Street in Austin, 1,000 people, and they ended up investing in my company. We're launching it, and that's how I got to Vegas. And he ended up selling the algorithm to him, and then I did some other things after that. But so I mean, to be honest with you, man, business was my sports after sports.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And I was just fortunate enough to be at the right time and right place, and all that kind of stuff. And
We'll put in the work too. Let's not forget that.
and put in the work. Yeah,
Yes.
I work hard at it. And to that point, I put in a lot of work, and I felt that my presence, I wasn't around as much.
Okay.
So in a weird way, I felt that I was repeating what my father did to me, even though my father was in prison.
Yo.
I felt that I was repeating that, but in a worse way, because I wasn't in prison. I was just not there. I was letting business consume me, and my sons, they didn't see me. Like I was
Right.
gone, and so I had to step back and be like, man, what am I doing right now? Like, so that's why I'm not doing anything. My focus is my boys and raising them and being there for them for whatever they need, and that's my focus. So like I said, when you understand how someone's absence affects you, you really understand what presence really means. So
That's
and I
amazing.
felt that I was repeating that with my son. So my presence was more important than chasing that competitive, whatever you want to call it as an athlete, but chasing it in business. Literally, I literally extinguished that inner flame instantly when I realized that my sons are like, "Daddy, we never see you anymore," and I was like, man.
And that
So-
awareness too, man. That self-awareness is a big
Yep.
part of that too.
Yeah, man. I'm fortunate that I was able to not be blinded by my own competitive kind of fire. So
Nice.
yeah, that's.
I love it, man.
Yep.
Well, hey, man, definitely want to kind of close off here, man. What we definitely say is we give a platform, and I know you brought up something that's kind of near and dear to your heart, was the merging vets and players
Yep.
program here. Now, I know that that's kind of a big program that's been going, but in Vegas, it's actually just had its 3-year.
Yep.
They recognized a 3-year party about a couple
Weeks ago. Yep.
something like
Yep.
that, right?
Yep.
So yeah, tell us a little bit about that as we get ready to wrap up.
So just really quick, man. I mean, a lot of people are like, what do vets and ex-athletes have in common? I said, man,
More
a lot.
common than you know.
You got two type A people that are very mission and purpose driven, and when you take that purpose away from them, sometimes they're lost. And that feeling of being lost can, matriculate into depression and other things. So you have a lot of veterans who are depressed, and, they do all these amazing things over downrange, as they call it. Then they come back home and they're taking orders for someone who's never done anything significant in their life,
Right.
and then that messes with them, or they feel like, the country turned its back on them, since they made them retire. I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but more importantly, there's no purpose in their life anymore, and there's no missions to find purpose. So same with athletes, there's no week 1, week 2, week 3, there's no playoffs now. So what's my purpose now?
No goals.
No goals.
Yeah.
So anyway, Merging Vets and Players, it's a free organization. Basically it brings combat veterans and ex-athletes together, and they train MMA, just to get that physical connection, that athletic kind of. And for a lot of guys, it's to lose weight again.
That too.
I mean, a lot of the vets and athletes are depressed just because they've gained a lot of weight.
But you think it's that team atmosphere as
And,
well?
and the team atmosphere.
Yeah.
Yep. It's that camaraderie. So the second part of it is, for an hour after the workout, you sit around and talk about things that you wouldn't talk about normally with your therapist. A lot of them wouldn't bring it up with the VA.
Right.
Their wives, girl, all that kind of stuff. It's just open peer-to-peer mentoring and therapy, basically. So, like I said, it's free, and I just appreciate all the good work they're doing, and I've seen firsthand that how they've helped veterans and ex-athletes kind of get to that next phase of life more smoothly.
I love it. So how can we get involved here locally? And then, I'm pretty sure there's chapters everywhere. Now, is this the one that Jay Glazer is involved in?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yep.
so how can we get involved here locally? And then, people listen everywhere. How can they get involved?
Sure. The website is vetsandplayers.org.
Okay.
That's one. Two, I believe every Friday at 5:30 at Extreme Couture, Randy Couture's MMA gym.
Is that the one here?
The one here.
Okay.
Yep. They meet, and it's come all. If you're a combat vet or a veteran or an ex-athlete, doesn't have to be an ex-NFL athlete. And like I said, no pressure. It's free. It's no pressure. Come as you want. If you just need that extra support, if you're dealing with things in life as we all do, it's a good look. It's a very good look, and I
like
think
it.
you'll get something out of it.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, 30 seconds or less.
Yep.
Okay. We have this topic called the assist. All right. So what
Yep.
would you, the dime, the knowledge, the gem that you would drop to your younger self, to your kids, or these people out here listening? What's that one nugget you want to leave them with?
Man, I say, this is cliche, but don't quit. I mean, so many things are right around the corner, and so many things are closer than you feel that they are. But as we are human, so we get beat down a lot, and we lose interest, we lose hope. Like I said, that tunnel could be dark, and it's tough navigating through the dark sometimes. But that light is right at the other end, around the other bend, you know, so just don't quit. And whatever you're doing, you know, don't quit and you'll get there.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
All right. Well, hey, we want to thank our guest, Gerome Sapp, again, man, blessing us, man, taking us through. I told you, man, we're going to have to do a session 2, session 3. We're going to have to, you know, get you back on here.
Yeah, man, just let me know.
Absolutely. And thank you guys all for listening here, you know, for today's show. Hope you like the content. We are Black in Sports on all of your social media sites. Please give us feedback and just know that we're rooting for you all.
Screaming, all us blacks got is sports and entertainment until we even.
Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yo. Look. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Spent about 2 racks on handmade new rags. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. That's everybody from sports to college class to rap and back.